What's up, everybody? It's Jason Cruz here once again with an episode of The Legal Submission, and this one's kind of a big one. Manny Pacquiao has been sued by Paradigm Sports and Entertainment, which is owned and operated by Audi Attar. As we all know, that Audi Attar represents Conor McGregor. Now, the lawsuit stems from Paradigm's alleged representation of Pacquiao, which we will get into in a little bit, but let me give you some of the specifics on the lawsuit. It was first reported by Lance Pugmire of The Athletic. It was filed in Orange County Superior Court, where Paradigm has its business, and it was filed on Friday, July 25th, I believe, and it was actually not made available to the public until Monday morning. So the lawsuit is interesting because it's does not seal any of the contractual information that transpired between Paradigm and Pacquiao and his representatives. The lawsuit claims three separate things. First of all, it claims that Manny Pacquiao breached his contract with Paradigm. Secondly, it claims that Pacquiao was unjustly enriched. As we'll get into, he had allegedly signed on with Audi Attar's firm, and in signing on with with Paradigm Sports, they advanced Pacquiao $3.3 million. Now, the advance was supposed to be $4 million, but the breach occurred prior to finally transferring Pacquiao the final $700,000. So there was an advance due in part to him signing and brokering a deal. As we all know, Pacquiao announced, I believe late May, that he was fighting Errol Spence August 21st, or in August, and it later became known that it was August 21st to be in Vegas, and it's going to be a huge fight involving Pacquiao's return to the ring and the biggest fight of Spence's career, to be honest. Paradigm is seeking to file and enjoin the contract of Pacquiao, and as a result, stop the fight with Spence from happening. This is due in part because, as we'll get into, Pacquiao was supposed to face Mikey Garcia under a deal brokered by Paradigm Sports, when in fact Pacquiao went around his purported representation and announced a fight with Spence. Now, this would be seemingly Pacquiao going back to PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, and Al Heyman, which he worked with previously. From what we gather, from just what we know with respect to what's filed in the lawsuit and the representation of Pacquiao, he had worked with PBC in the past, but not at this point had any ties as in terms of fight contracts or deals with the PBC. So he was free and clear, a free agent at this particular time. So let's get to how Paradigm Sports got into working with Manny Pacquiao, and boy, did they get an experience in working with Manny Pacquiao. As we know that Pacquiao has had many influencers, hangers-on, if you call them, advisors, if you want to paint them in a better picture, as to how his career was going to occur. So, starting from the beginning, it was about October of 2019, 2020, in which 2020, I believe, October 2020, in which, October 2019, October 2019, when initial talks had began between Paradigm Sports and Pacquiao. According to the complaint, they through networking or whatnot, they were able to talk to someone within Pacquiao's inner circle and introduce themselves, Paradigm Sports that is, and get a meeting with him. And they flew to the Philippines, talked to him. Soon thereafter, a deal was signed in February 2020. You might recall that there was an announcement related to that. And they closed the deal in which Pacquiao would be represented by Paradigm Sports. And this deal, according to the contract which was attached to the lawsuit, included a far-ranging panoply of services, which included negotiating his next fight, out-of-the-ring endorsement deals, entertainment deals. The contract that Paradigm had brokered was going to be exclusive, in which Paradigm would be the sole entity to which they would be handling Pacquiao's contract. Now there is a little asterisk here, because Pacquiao did have existing deals in the Middle East and in Asia, and so those particular regions, they would not be, Paradigm would not be exclusive to, as far as who would be negotiating on Pacquiao's behalf. So, with that being said, just to give you a little context from the business angle, according to the complaint, Paradigm would receive 10% of the total income received from all fight contracts, and 20% of the total income received from its outside work. Now, if you think about that and break it down into dollars, that's a lot of money for Paradigm. But they are, of course, at this point, doing a lot of business development and outlaying a lot of money. So, when Attar flies to the Philippines, and I assume they had dinners and whatnot, wining and dining Pacquiao, they are paying that out of pocket first before they could get to sign it. So after the agreement was signed in February 2020, then Paradigm negotiated a deal with DAZN and Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing for a 4-fight deal worth at least $100 million, according to the complaint. This included a $20 million signing bonus. So right off the top, you get $20 million for signing with DAZN, with signing with Matchroom Boxing, and having your fights on DAZN. So the initial deal would have 2 fights occurring in Saudi Arabia, and the first fight being with Mikey Garcia. Now, we learned later on in reading the complaint that Conor McGregor was definitely in one of those fights to take place. Now, we could make inferences from the timeline here of whether or not Conor was going to fight Pacquiao before the Dustin Poirier fight, or if the Dustin Poirier fight, which occurred in January 2021, was a part of the deal, or whether the Dustin Poirier fight happened independent of Conor. Conor just took that fight because the Pacquiao boxing match was not solidified yet. But anyway, Mikey Garcia was on deck to fight Pacquiao, and then Conor McGregor. So what happened next? So the Garcia fight was scheduled to happen in June or July 2020, but in the interim, associates of Pacquiao attempted to negotiate their own deal with authorities in Saudi Arabia. And according to the complaint from Paradigm, the deal went down from two. So the fact that he had his advisors or hanger-ons trying to attempt to broker another deal, the leverage went down, and Saudi Arabia offered just a 2-fight deal, $50 million at $25 million per fight, $10 million signing bonus. So we see the signing bonus went down by $10 million. and the fight guarantee went from 4 to 2 and $50 million instead of $100 million. Now, Paradigm blames that on Pacquiao's advisors for stepping in and trying to say that they were the only representatives of Pacquiao. This has been a thing that's gone on with Pacquiao throughout his career. Too many people saying that they represent him when they, in fact, do not. So Pacquiao sought to have the original complaint with Paradigm altered to consent to have his associates negotiate a one-time, one-fight, $50 million fight with Eddie Hearn and DAZN in Saudi Arabia. Now, at this point, if you're Paradigm, you would have to think to yourselves, this is really dealing with a lot, because they had already invested a lot of sweat equity in brokering this deal with DAZN. And they got a 4-fight, $100 million deal, including a $20 million sign-in bonus. And all of that work went down the tubes because Pacquiao's friends helped out, quote-unquote helped out. But even with that happening, Pacquiao says, hey, let my buddies negotiate a deal with Saudi Arabia, and then you, Paradigm, can step back in and be my reps. If you're Paradigm at that point, you might want to just cut your losses and get on going, because you could just see that this relationship is going to be this way from here on out. But perhaps maybe it's Pacquiao, perhaps it's the assurances of Manny, the charm of Manny, whatever it may be, the potential dollar signs that you could see occurring. Maybe perhaps there is a portion of Manny that sees a fight with Conor McGregor being as big and as high selling and as huge revenue generating as the one that happened several years ago in Vegas with Floyd Mayweather. Maybe that's why everybody stayed the course in this particular relationship. But so the Pacquiao had Paradigm altered the contract so his buddies could be the sole negotiators here. So whether it was a good or bad strategy, Paradigm agreed to the alteration. They did require some conditions, of course, making Manny state that that Paradigm was the sole rep after this particular fight, and that his associates would not deal as representatives for Pacquiao. Now, of course, they did not know that Pacquiao would himself try to broker his own deal with Saudi Arabia, but that is what actually happened. So the original contract was being amended at this particular time. So this is March 2020, still with the expectation of a fight with Garcia in July 2020, brokered by now his buddies, I believe. Now, interesting enough, in late July of 2020, no Garcia fight happened. And this could be due in part to the pandemic happening, and that's why there's no Garcia fight. But in July 2020, an attorney for Melvin and Myers advised Paradigm that Pacquiao was terminating the original agreement. So now you have another party coming in, David Moroso, a very high-profile sports and entertainment attorney, coming in stating that Pacquiao now was represented by O'Melveny and in terms of legal work regarding this particular transaction, and was terminating the original contract. One of the reasons was that Paradigm did not provide him with a concrete fight within the time set under the original contract. Now, they could have had whether or not Mikey Garcia was that particular fight. The argument within the letter, which we have right up for you right now, states that there was a drop dead date of May 5th, 2020 to receive an official offer contract for a fight. And according to the O'Melveny and Myers attorney letter, no official contract was given. And per the terms of the original contract, Pacquiao had the right to terminate it, and he was exercising that particular right. Now, Paradigm claims that there was no confirmation that the O'Melveny attorney actually represented Pacquiao. He claims that the Pac and Paradigm agreement entered into there was a new agreement that they had entered into, the amended agreement that Pacquiao had wished them to make. Now, with this amended agreement, there was a supplemental agreement which included additional things, including the $3.3 million advance forwarded to Pacquiao as part of the amended agreement, in which he would now be the sole client. He would be the client of Paradigm, and Paradigm would be the sole agent on behalf of Pacquiao when it came to negotiating fight contracts. And you can see there's an authorization, in which authorization is spelled wrong, in which it gave exclusive representation for Paradigm to represent Pacquiao, Senator Emmanuel Pacquiao, in 2 of his professional boxing fights. Now, it makes it, as many attorneys would notice, the phrase 2 of my professional boxing fights in the authorization seems to be very vague as far as when would they happen, how would that happen, things like that. I think the other big thing is the purse here, which was allegedly advanced to Pacquiao. So that is where we are at. The lawsuit was filed. We assume that Pacquiao did not return the money, and that the contract is in huge dispute, because Pacquiao believes that he terminated the contract. Paradigm believes that there was a second contract that was executed by Pacquiao and agreed upon by the parties. The big issue here from the legal standpoint is whether there was a meeting of the minds and an official contract between the 2 parties. Is it the second contract that was agreed upon, and was it executed? It does look like it was executed by Pacquiao as far as the one authorization, but was the whole complete contract executed? Secondly, you have to wonder what was going on through the business decisions of both parties here. Paradigm is used to working in the combat sports field. Obviously, they're not used to working with the likes of Manny Pacquiao. They had attempted to suppress, muzzle a lot of Pacquiao's associates by sending cease and desist letters. Whether not those things have weight is something for a court to decide. And how to muzzle a third party when one of the parties, Manny Pacquiao, continues to facilitate business through these people. I'm sure that Paradigm had made it known that there had to be concrete written promises, written contractual language in which Pacquiao was going to defer to Paradigm as his agent, and I'm sure that was the strategy of Attar and the business. But dealing with Pacquiao, he knows he has leverage in this particular situation. And whether or not the $3.3 million comes back to Paradigm will be an interesting dispute, because that's a lot of money. Now, as noted by Lynch Pugmire's article, Judd Burstein will be the lead trial attorney on behalf of Paradigm here. Burstein, notably from the Deontay Wilder Alexander Povetkin lawsuit, in which he, I believe, represented Povetkin very aggressively, will be a bulldog as far as trying to obtain information related to earnings of Pacquiao or the monetary information of Pacquiao during this time. Obviously, that could have an impact on any potential IRS audit that Pacquiao may have to endure, because, as we know, Pacquiao had some issues related to taxes in the past. The other issue is, of course, jurisdiction. Is suing Pacquiao in Orange County Superior Court going to hold? Contractually, there were dispute resolution parts in the contract which related to arbitration and or mediation, and now I don't go into that too much, but it sounds as though it was waived in lieu of filing this particular lawsuit. So that will be an issue. Pacquiao is a citizen of the Philippines, and so when you have to wonder, how you bring this guy in outside of the auspices of signing that contract. That might be an issue. The other issue, and the bigger one, probably for fight fans, is the injunction which is being threatened. Now, the injunction has to be separate from the actual lawsuit, so it'll be heard by a judge. And so the question will be, does an injunction which will seek to halt the Errol Spence-Manny Pacquiao fight set for August 21, does the injunction stop that actual fight from happening? And my instant analysis is no. And the reason why is that there'll be alternative means to deal with the compensation for Paradigm, and that could be monetary as opposed to stopping an actual event from occurring. Now, certainly the parties, the Paradigm Sports will make their argument as far as why this event should not go through, and if so, if the event goes through, then Pacquiao's purse should be held up for the actual amount of the advance that either Pacquiao had purportedly received, or a much more higher monetary value based upon impact and injury to Paradigm Sports. Now, we're going to see a lot of movement happen in the next several days and weeks, because we got this fight happening 7-8 weeks out, and with this lawsuit, if they're going to seek to stop this from happening, we will know about it shortly. So we'll have more on this in other legal submissions coming up soon, but I wanted to get this out there for you. What do I think will happen? Well, it's going to be a tough one for Paradigm Sports to win, simply because you have a party, Manny Pacquiao, that claims that they terminated a contract. Paradigm's only argument is that O'Melveny and Myers did not represent Pacquiao at the particular time. A stronger argument, perhaps, is that Paradigm entered into a second contract with Pacquiao. Now, the three tenets of a contract: offer, acceptance, consideration, would be evaluated in that particular second contract, because whether or not Pacquiao agreed to this amended contract, which had different conditions for Pacquiao to sign, for Paradigm to be his representative. So representative, and in exchange we have another set of conditions, including a advance to Pacquiao, we'll see if that second amended contract holds up. So once again, it's Jason Cruz with a little bit of a complicated case involving Manny Pacquiao, but of course that's Manny being Manny. The legal submission. Check us out in a little bit. Have a good day.